Here I am. Here we are. Yes, another week.
It's very giving. It's giving very much.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby. Ooh, something almost fell. Ooh, that would have been bad. And thank you for joining me here today. I'm just gonna ignore the fact that I didn't post anything last week, but that technically wasn't my fault. Well, it was, but like, we're not gonna get into it. Actually, I was planning to post this video, the Studio Ghibli video, but I started filming it and I didn't like my ranking, and my whole like attitude was off that day. So then I was just like, no. But here we are today. Let me fix my camera. Here we are, and we are going to, well, I am going to, everything is just in disarray. Like literally everything. I will be ranking the Studio Ghibli movies here today. So I watched all of the movies, and I watched them in order of release date. All of the movies starting from 1984. Now, I will be ranking 22 movies. I know that people claim that Nausicaa and the Valley of Wind is not necessarily a Studio Ghibli movie because it didn't come out under the company, but I'm gonna claim it as the movie, as a Studio Ghibli film, because it was the first one in my mind. And also, I will not be rating Grave of the Fireflies because it would be comparing apples and oranges. I watched that film. I liked it. It was a good, I don't know if the term is like. I don't think I was supposed to like it, but I think I felt all of the emotions that they wanted me to feel while watching that, because it was 90 minutes and as soon as it started, I didn't stop crying till the end. So it was not enjoyable. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. I don't think it was supposed to be enjoyable. I don't think I was supposed to find anything about that movie fun, but I understand why it was made and I understand the purpose of it, and I get it. I really, really do. But I based a lot of these movies based on how they made me feel personally. And if I had to include this movie, Grave of the Fireflies, based on how it made me feel, then it would be last. And it doesn't deserve to be last. And yeah, so that's my asterisk. Like, I won't be rating Grave of the Fireflies. I watched the movie, I understand its purpose, but it was not fun and or enjoyable for me at all. And I don't think it was supposed to be. Second point, none of these movies are terrible. None of these movies are bad. I think it starts from like good to like very good, excellent, outstanding, like phenomenal. Yeah, but none of these movies are terrible. I'll say that. And next disclaimer, this is just my preference. As I said before, I rated these movies based on how I felt watching them. So, for example, like I know some of these have like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and it's a critic's choice and all of this stuff. I'm not a movie critic. I literally just my personal taste is how I rated all of these movies. Now, just to begin, if you have never seen a Studio Ghibli film before, I am going to try my best to not spoil anything too much, but like there might be like, if there are any like major spoilers, I'll make sure to put like a note or something. I'm gonna try, but like I'm obviously gonna be talking about the movie, so there may be spoilers coming up. Now, in terms of themes, I love the themes of all of these movies. So I'm looking down, like my laptop is in front of me as usual. So most of the Studio Ghibli films, they're based on like ecological catastrophe, flight. They love planes. They really do. That could be because most of it, like some of the movies are set in World War II, so I can see that element of it. There's magic. I am not necessarily a fan of fantastical, magical elements. I like it, don't get me wrong, I love the magical trope. However, you'll see when I rate these movies and I tell you why I rated them the way that I did. Strong women, we love to see it. Coming of age and family. So those are like the main themes that you will find in all of these movies. So let's get into it. And like, once again, none of these are bad. My phone's ringing. It was a good thing it went off now. That would have been annoying. Okay. So we're starting off with the, I know that I said that none of these movies were bad necessarily, but we're starting off with the meh. In my personal opinion, the meh. Okay. So first one, number 22, My Neighbors the Yamadas. Now, I feel kind of bad for putting this one last because I don't think I watched it properly. So this movie, like, general synopsis, it's essentially about the daily life of a Japanese family, and like that's a good premise. However, it had such a different art style from the rest of them, and it was I wasn't expecting that art style, and it was sandwiched between, was it? No, it wasn't Howell. I think it was sandwiched between Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke, I think. Or it could have been after. But no, it was sandwiched between like two films that I really, really liked. So I think there was that. And also, it wasn't a continuous story. It was separate stories of separate events happening. So I think I watched the first story, but then it didn't hold my attention. And then I was scrambling. I was like, what is going on here? So I don't even, maybe it's not even the movie's fault. It was just a bunch of different factors. Like, maybe if the animation style hadn't switched up so much and it was just the story with the, I don't know, like, I don't know how it ended. I don't know what all of the stories were. It was just very, very confusing to me, at least. I could not focus, and that is why this movie is where it's at, which is at number 22. Now, next, number 21, Erwig and the Witch. I am so disappointed in this movie. Actually, like, before like I started filming, I saw that there's going to be a cookbook released with this. So you can get the cookbook if you want to, because the food looked good. Like, that was like one of the only things good about this movie. I am so very disappointed because the premise could have been great. This one was released in 2020, by the way, so I'm hoping it was just like a 2020 funk, because like compared to My Neighbor the Yamadas, which I don't think was necessarily bad, I just couldn't get into it, this one, Erwig and the Witch, was actually pretty bad. If you could say tease, like, they were teasing me throughout the entire film that something of importance was going to happen, but nothing actually happened. So the premise of this story is essentially this witch leaves her, I don't even know if it's her child or her baby. I'm gonna say it's her baby because I don't think it was actually cleared up in the movie. So she leaves this kid at an orphanage and she's on the run from other witches. So this kid grows up, Erwig, I think they called her like Erica. So she grows up and another witch family adopts her to help around the house, and then she finds out that this witch family knew the woman who brought her to the orphanage, but she doesn't find this out until like the last like 5 minutes of the movie. And like, the thing that I was waiting for when she met the woman who dropped her off at the orphanage, it happened in the last like 2.5 nanoseconds. I was so confused. Like, I googled it because I thought there was a part 2, and then I'm like googling, like, when does part 2 come out? I don't know if they're just not gonna do a part 2 or if that's just the entire story, but it was just stringing me along. Nothing happened. I know that a lot of people don't like the animation style of this because it's so different from the previous Studio Ghibli movies. However, the animation style didn't bother me that much. It looked like kind of like a budget Pixar film, to be honest. I'm not even trying to be funny, but yeah, it was just like, nothing happened. I like Erwig as a character. I think she's like a cool girl. She's quirky and all that jazz. Like, that's not the problem. Were there villains? Like, there weren't even any compelling quote unquote villains, you would say. And Ghibli movies don't necessarily have like a villain type character, but there was nothing compelling about it whatsoever. I think the only reason why it's not last and it's above the previous movie is because I like Erwig. I do. She was like compelling. It's like she's a compelling character, but other than that, there was no payoff. It's like you're waiting for something. It's like you're watching something and you expect there to be a climax and you expect there to be something good coming, but you get to the end and the only good part, the part that you were waiting for like lasts like 2 seconds, and you're just like, this is what I sat here for like an hour and a half. This is the payoff you give me. So that's why it's at number 21. Number 20, Tales from Earthsea. This one was also like badly rated by the critics. However, I didn't think it was terrible. Okay, so number 22 and number 21 were like the bad ones, I would say, like bad. Which, and My Neighbors the Yamadas isn't necessarily bad, but you know what I mean. And now we get into Tales from Earthsea. We get into like meh, alright, I saw what you were trying to do. A lot of people hate this movie, but it is where it is because I watched it and I got to the end. So I think I didn't understand what was happening till maybe 30 or 40 minutes in, which is like a case with another one of these movies, but we'll get to it. I didn't know what was happening till like 30, 40 minutes in, but it is where it is because I like Teru. I like the main character, and you'll find this as like the defining characteristic in most of my rankings. I really like the main female characters. I'm not even gonna lie. And that's why the way that it is the way it is. I don't even have anything necessarily negative or positive to say about this movie. It just like, it wasn't necessarily visually stunning in the way that, for example, like Spirited Away is just very visually compelling. It was just there. It was just meh. Like, I don't even have any negative and or positive thoughts to say about it. I liked Teru. That's like the main positive thing. I liked the ending. And that is about it. I must say. Yeah, that's it. So next one, Porko Russo. Now, if you had to pay me $1 million to tell you the plot of this movie, you would still have your $1 million because I don't know what was going on. And it could be that like the quote unquote main character was a man. I don't even think that's it because one of these other movies had like a male main character, and I very much so enjoyed it. But I could not tell you well, maybe I'm lying. I think the pig it was about a pig, a flying pig. There were planes, and I think they were fighting something. That is as far as my knowledge about Porko Russo goes. I don't understand what was happening. The only reason why it's not dead last is because I love Theo. I do. Where every time she would pop up on the screen, I would look up from my phone, and that's how you know I wasn't paying attention, because for most of these movies I would actively watch it because I watched it twice. I watched it once in Japanese, and then I watched it another time in the English dub. But I was just like scrolling through my phone, even like with the Japanese version playing, and then when I saw Theo, I looked up because that was my girl and I need to see, because we love women in STEM, okay? She wants to be an engineer and she's smart, and we love to see it. We really do. But other than that, like, I can't tell. Like, in the end they were fighting about something. Some people were fighting about something, but I couldn't tell you what they were fighting over. And I don't know if I care to tell you what they were fighting over. The only thing that I know from this movie is that I love Fio. And it's gonna be that about that. Next film. Number 18. Porko Russo was 19. I think I said that. Number 18, Porko. Now, this film wasn't terrible. We're still in the meh category. This film would have been lower. Let me tell you why. So what it's about first. So it's one of those like ecological debates where you have these raccoons, but I don't think that's the correct term for it. I think they're like Japanese dogs or something, but they're like shape-shifting raccoons, and they live in this certain area, and now we're in the age of like industrialization. Humans are tearing down the trees and stuff, so they're losing their homes essentially, and they have to like figure out ways to survive, this is like one of the best Studio Ghibli tropes in my opinion, the whole ecological man versus nature type thing. I think it was weird watching raccoon I don't even want to say it was weird watching raccoons talk. I just think that I preferred the movies that were like that had people in them, because this one did not for the most part. It was also very long. It was like 2 hours. It was extremely long. And why it's not lower is that I like the documentary style presentation of it. So it's like there's like a narrator in the background like telling you things as like the story progresses, and I very much like that, because that's the only Ghibli movie that I saw that used that method. So that was that, and I love kitsunes, I love foxes, so that's where it is. It wasn't bad. Like, I got through all of it, because like there were some movies that I couldn't get through, like My Neighbor the Yamadas. I couldn't finish it. I finished My Neighbor. I finished the Yamadas. It was just that I didn't understand what was going on. For this movie, I could understand like from front to back. I knew what was happening. I understood the plot. It was pretty to look at. So those were the meh-ish films. And now we get into, I'd say, the I enjoyed category. A lot of people are gonna get mad at this next one, because I know that this is a lot of people's favorite films. Let me take a sip of water, child. A lot of people like this film, but once again, this is my ranking. This is just me. This is what I felt while watching. And number 17 out of 22 is My Neighbor Totoro. Wait. Nothing happens in this movie. Number one, nothing actually happens. Like they find Totoro and they see him, and then this one kid gets lost, but then she gets found. Nothing actually happens, and I don't necessarily have a problem with nothing happening in the movie, because I have movies ranked above this where nothing really happens. But Totoro scares me. Is he supposed to be a cat? Is it supposed to be a cat? Totoro scares me. That cat bus scares me. I was terrified. It's always smiling, and I was looking at it like, this might kill me in the night. Like, I had to literally, after watching My Neighbor Totoro, I had to go watch some SpongeBob. Like, after you watch like a horror film and you need to follow it up with something cute and fun, I had to go watch some SpongeBob, because I was convinced that I would have nightmares about Totoro. I'm sorry, I am sorry to Totoro. I'm very, very sorry. I know it's the Studio Ghibli mascot. I know a lot of people like it, and you know what? You're entitled to like it. But as I said before, I'm ranking these movies based on how they made me feel, and Totoro made me feel scared. You're lucky that it's not at the bottom. You're lucky that it's not at the bottom, and it's only not at the bottom because I liked Satsuki and I liked Mei. That is it. That is it. Because there was no like. I guess you could say that there's like the story of like sisterhood and friendship because like they moved to like a whole new town and their mom was sick. There are those elements, those like heartfelt elements, but you can find those elements in every other Studio Ghibli movie. I don't need to watch My Neighbor Totoro to get it. So that thing was scary. And the thing is, like, I know it's a Studio Ghibli mascot, so I had to see it like for every movie that I watch. But for the movies that I was watching, he wasn't like smiling. He wasn't smiling that smile. He was just like to the side, and it was fine. But like no. It was terrifying actually. And yeah, maybe I should put Totoro in the meh category because I don't like it. And once again, I know a lot of people like that movie, but I'm gonna have to pass. Like y'all can do that without me personally. So like I had to relive that trauma while thinking about that movie, to be honest. Now we're getting into the good stuff. Now we're getting into everything like above. Like we have like 16 movies left. I'm only 22 minutes in filming. We have 16 movies left. This shit's about to be 2 fucking hours long. Now we're getting into the good category, I would say. There are a couple of movies in the good category, so let us begin. Number 16 out of 22, The Cat Returns. Listen. If you need a good laugh, I would characterize this film as comedy, but like feel good comedy. So what happens is that this girl, she's a student, she rescues a cat. And now the kingdom of cats, they want her to marry the prince. And she gets turned into a cat at some point. And then she has to find Baron. Baron is like a character from one of the previous films. She finds Baron. Baron helps her out. It is nothing but ridiculousness all around, and it was such an enjoyable watch. It made me so happy while watching it. I was laughing my ass off, and I was thinking it would be the best thing to watch this movie high. I'm in Canada. It's legal. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but it's legal where I'm at. It would be so much fun. I enjoyed this. There was a plot. Because, like, yeah, the plot was she had to find out a way to get herself from not marrying the cat prince while turning into a cat. If that makes sense. It's as ridiculous as it sounds, but it's a very, very good time. It's very, very funny. I was laughing, and I loved to see it. I really, really loved it. Number 15, Arrietty. Now, I wouldn't call this forgettable because I knew what was happening. From here up, I like watched all of these movies and I enjoyed watching all of these movies, but in comparison to the movies like above this one, Arrietty was a good film, but in comparison to what came, like the ones above her, she doesn't stack up. Like, it was cute, it really was, but like, yeah, like it wasn't good. It wasn't bad, but was it amazing though? It wasn't amazing. The story was was good. Oh, I should give you like a brief description of the story as well. So it's essentially about like these borrowers, which are these like little people, and they live near humans, I would say, so that they can borrow things from them. So for example, things that humans wouldn't necessarily find missing. So a piece of tissue, a salt, what do you call that, a cube of sugar, things like that humans wouldn't necessarily realize that have gone missing. And because they're so tiny, these small things last a very, very long time. So they find things, but they also have to do it in a way where humans don't see them. So they usually do it at night, and they try to stay hidden. And so this movie is about one of the humans seeing Ariete, and all of that. Chaos ensues. But there was also this one tidbit that kind of got me, like, I was like, this is weird. So what was the borrower's name? I can't remember his name, but he was a darker skinned character, and they had him with like paint on his face, and he couldn't speak it felt a tad racist to me. So I didn't like that portrayal. Like, I'll put in like a picture. I don't know like what kind of I don't know which people they were trying to represent, but I'm just like, okay, if you want to have a darker skinned character, why would you make him almost seem like that? Like, I'll try to put in a clip because I don't want to like, yeah, but like, why would you do that? You could have just had a darker skinned character, and then that would be that. But I digress.
So I couldn't find any clips to insert exactly what I was talking about, so I'll try to explain it. So the character Spiller was darker skinned, obviously, and he was made to be this hunter-gatherer type character, but he couldn't speak in full sentences, so he couldn't communicate with everybody else. So that's what I'm saying, like, there's nothing wrong with having a hunter-gatherer type character, but why is he specifically dark-skinned, and why can't he just communicate like everybody else? He was communicating in grunts, so I'm just like...
The movie wasn't terrible, but it wasn't amazing. So next on this list, people are about to be mad again. People are about to be mad. When I tried filming this video like twice before because of my ranking, because at the time I had done I did my ranking, and then I looked at what other people were saying. Then I was like, oh, maybe it should be like this, because other people were talking about like cinematography and all that stuff, and then I was just like, no, I'm just gonna do it based on how I felt watching it. So this next movie has gotten rave reviews, and I can see why, but it is where it is, and I'm gonna tell you why. So number 14 out of 22 is The Tale of Princess Kagia. Wait, hold on, just give me a second to explain myself, please. Don't jump me yet. I enjoyed this movie. So The Tale of Princess Kagia is a bit so this bamboo cutter and his wife, they find a prince, like they find a person in a tree, and she grows very, very quickly, and she's their child, and they are convinced that the gods have sent them a kid to look after, because they also find gold in one of the trees. And so her father especially is just very taken with the fact that, oh, we're supposed to raise her in luxury, not even noticing that that's not what she wants, and that's not what makes her happy. So there's like a lot of themes about female independence, fatherhood, traditional marriage, all of that stuff, and I get it. I liked it. However, I'm like a sap for a happy ending, and the ending was bittersweet. I'll say that. If you want to watch it, I won't spoil it. The ending was bittersweet, and the story was good as well. the story with her three suitors trying to find the thing that she asked them for so they could marry her, that was good as well. I liked the art style, but it wasn't my favorite, and the reason why it's not lower is because the story kind of compensated for the fact that the art wasn't my favorite thing in the world. And the last thing that I have to say about this movie is fuck all the men except for Setmaru. And I had the hardest time with this part of the list because it's just very good. I might say it's excellent. The rest of these movies are just very, very excellent in my opinion. So take that, like, I'll tell you when it gets like interchangeable, but yeah, the rest of these movies are really, really good. It's just like some of these, in my opinion, outweigh the others. Number 13, Lapta Castle in the Sky. Now this is technically, if you don't count Nausicaa, this is technically the first Ghibli movie, and it was good. It was really, really good, actually. I enjoyed it. My only qualm with this is that it was too long, in my opinion, for what they were trying to tell me. So I think that the first 30 minutes of the story didn't need to be there. So the full thing was about 2 hours long. It could have been easily cut down to an hour and a half, but that is just my preference. Chita and Pazu are cuties. They're cuties. I really, really like them. It like centers on them trying to find Lapta, which is like this advanced society, but it's like a castle in the sky, and Chita is the princess, and chaos ensues as always. This was very pretty. I liked it, even though it was made in like 1986. It came out in 1986. The aesthetic was very, very pretty. The only qualm, as I said before, is that it didn't need to be as long as it was, but it was a cute little film. I don't have anything necessarily bad to say except that it could have been shorter. Number 12, Only Yesterday. I have conflicting emotions about this film. In another life, if I come back and rank these movies maybe like 5 years later, I'm 22 at the moment, so if I come back and rank these movies 5 years later, this might be higher on the list. I think it is where it is because I couldn't necessarily relate to Taiko. I think this movie has I think it's intended for older women, because there are a lot of themes about women in the workplace, unmarried women, especially in Japanese society. So the way that it's set up is really, really cool because you have her telling her story as a child when she was younger, and then you have her as she is now, trying to figure out and deciding what she wants to do. So I related a lot to how her representation when she was younger, but it was also a bit bittersweet because I could understand it and I felt bad, and like it brought back a lot of like childhood memories. But the point that she is in her life right now, I could understand it, but I couldn't necessarily relate to it. And that doesn't mean that I have to relate to every single character that I see, but I think the writing was so good that it was intended for people, especially women, to relate to that. And I just like, I understood it. Obviously I understood where she was coming from. I was just like, all right, go, which is why I say give me like 5 more years when I'm 27. I think she's 27 in this. I think she's 27, and I think I'll be able to appreciate it more. I really do like the whole like flashbacks between her present day and her as a kid, so you can see why she is the way that she is. That was like, that added layers to the story. And the fact that she went back and got married to that guy, that was just like icing on the cake. I guess that's like a huge not really, but that was like icing on the cake for me. I was just like, oh, like, it's cute. And the ending where I'm a sap, but like the ending where she's like on the bus and then she sees like her younger self and her younger friends and they're waving at her, I started crying because I'm a sap. I still haven't watched Coco because I know that it's going to make me cry, and I don't want that for me. Next film, From Up on Poppy Hill. I realized that I made a mistake now, because when I was at number 14 I said we were halfway, but now we're actually halfway, and it makes sense because I don't know what to feel about this movie, which is why I put it at number 11, because when I was watching it I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best things that I've ever seen. And you'll notice that with me, some of my favorite movies are the ones where like nothing happens. Kind of. But I was like, this is the best thing that I've ever seen, and then comparing it to everything else, I'm just like, wait, I actually don't know what I feel about this. I like it because they're in school. I relate to a lot of the stories that are in school because I've only known school so far because I'm 22. I like it because of that. I liked the story between, I have their names written down, Umi and Shun. It reminds me of childhood, and that makes me happy. It's a coming of age story, and that makes me happy. There's just something about, like, I don't know exactly what it is about it. When they found out that they weren't actually, I'll bleep this part out because if you want to see the movie, if you want to watch the movie, then that would be a big spoiler. But if you've watched the movie, then you know what I'm talking about. And don't spoil it for anybody if you comment anything. If you want to watch From Up on Poppy Hill, it's a really good feel-good story. It's not like too heavy subject matter, and yeah, I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it a lot. Now we get into top 10. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Why was that a tongue twister? So, number 10, Nausicaä and the Valley. Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind. Make sure I get my girl's movie correct. Make sure I come ready and I come correct. Because I'll insert that Drake meme. I always think of this meme when I see BTS, by the way. But I'll insert the meme so you can see.
In the whole world, look around you. Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. Look around at the square. I promise you right now, we did this. Doesn't matter what anybody says. They can say it's disrespectful. They can say it's this and that.
She built this, okay? Like, before her, none of this was here. So I get personally offended when people don't want to include her when they talking about Studio Ghibli rankings, because what do you mean? Like, all of the tropes or all of the themes that we see in Studio Ghibli movies today, Nausicaä did that. She was the one to set the tone. Ecological catastrophe. This bitch was flying all up and down the place. Strong female characters. Not just one. Characters, family, all of these different things. This is such a good movie. The plot was so good. Before watching this, I hadn't seen anything look like this movie before in terms of like the plot and the forest and the insects and all of that stuff. It's just so good. If I had to say, what is this movie about? This is probably the only one where I won't be able to give an accurate description as to what it's about. It's about this girl trying to heal the forest. That sounds a lot like the description of Princess Mononoke, but it's not. It's not, I promise. It's completely... There are some similarities, but it's different. It's different. I promise you it's different. This movie is so good. Nausicaä is such a good such a good character, such a good female character. It's just good. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's why it's number 10. Number 9. A lot of people are gonna get mad at this one too. A lot of people will get mad at her. Princess Mononoke is number 9 on my list. I liked Sen, and I also liked Prince Ashitaka. I just don't... The movie was good. The cinematography was good. The animation was good. The colors were good. I enjoyed the wolves. This is different from Pompoko because I feel like the humans were more integrated into it, and it also has some of the same themes as Nausicaa with like man versus nature, and also like Pompoko, man versus nature. In Princess Mononoke, you get to see the adverse effects that human beings have had on nature and on the forest and all of these environmental factors that are still caused by us. So in terms of relevancy, this movie's like up there because we're still discussing if climate change is real or not. So in terms of relevancy, it's up there. This was one of the rare instances that I liked the male character a bit more than the female character. Don't get it fucked up. I still like Sen, but I think Ashitaka was a more rounded character than she was. Maybe that was intended. And also this little tidbit that I looked up. So Mononoke is a Japanese word for a supernatural shape-shifting being that possesses people and causes suffering, disease, or death. Because there's this like trope in the movie, not trope, but there's this thing where they think that Sen is possessed by a wolf spirit, and you get to all of that. But I really enjoyed the ending of the film. I think it was beautiful to look at because even after they like did that to the forest god, he still like gave them back the forest essentially. So there's that. I very much so enjoyed Princess Mononoke. It was just like a little things that I would tweak here and there, but overall it was a really good movie. Now my next movie that I really liked, that I didn't think that I was gonna like, and this movie is called The Wind Rises. I was so sure that this was going to be Porko Russo Part 2, but I was very pleasantly surprised because I love Jiro. I love him so very much. I love his character. I think I read up at the end it was like dedicated to somebody, and Jiro is actually a real person. The story isn't his exact story verbatim, but it was made to honor his character. So I don't know the real person behind Jiro, but the Jiro character, Studio Ghibli, I loved. Why I didn't think I was gonna like this film, because once again I said it was like centering a male character, but it also had the whole plane thing and the whole flying thing and building planes, and that was like the same plot-ish of Porko Russo. I must say, I didn't realize how much I liked this film until the end, where he sees his wife. Y'all know that if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The end where he sees his wife in the field, and like she tells him to like live a good life, and then he says thank you, and that whole interaction between them happens. And the movie ends, I'm tearing up, but I started bawling. Even now, like I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna, I don't know, like the floodgates just opened. I don't know what happened to me in that moment, but I started bawling, like tears, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. And like any kind of movie that can, the ending was of course bittersweet, and I know that I said I liked happy endings, but anything that can make me express that much emotion, I just have to give it up because it was really, really good. Like I said, like even watching it, I was very confused. I was like, do I like it? Do I not like it? And I wasn't sure up until the very, very end, up until that scene where I just started crying uncontrollably. It was embarrassing, and I was happy nobody was there to see me do that. But it was just really, really good. It was just really, really good. Excuse me, I'm slobbing at the mouth. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and you should definitely give it a watch. So, next movie, I don't know if this is gonna get a lot of people mad because she's top 7. But where else are you gonna put her? Where else are we gonna put her? We're like in the outstanding category. We're in the outstanding category, by the way. I don't know when it started, but this is where we're at now. Number 7, The Wind Rises was number 8. Number 7 is Ponyo. Ponyo is number 7 based on the fact that I was my happiest while watching this movie. The plot made sense, but it didn't make sense at the exact same time. There was so much happening, but this just reminded me of being a kid. It reminded me when I didn't have any worries in life, when I didn't have any bills to pay, when I didn't have to worry about anything. It just made me very, very happy watching this movie. Like, I don't think it just like, I didn't think about anything. I didn't have to think about anything while watching this. It was just a very, very happy time for me. I will how long was it? It was like probably like an hour and a half something. I will cherish that hour and a half for a long time to come, because especially with this pandemic and like the decisions that I've been having to contemplate lately, I don't get a lot of like just sheer happiness, and this film just made me very, very happy. I have no other reason. Like, it wasn't this like, it was stunning visually, but there are more stunning films on here than Ponyo. The story was like a very, very cute story that I could like have. I could like show it to like a 6-year-old and they would get it. It wasn't any like depth necessarily to it, but it just made me feel good. Number 6, Spirited Away. I can see why people call Spirited Away one of Studio Ghibli's best projects, one of their best films. I believe it was one of their films too. I don't remember if it came after or before Princess Mononoke, but I think it came out in like 2002. I have it written down. I can just look. It came out in 2001, and it was one of the Studio Ghibli films to like take off internationally outside of Japan, and I can see why. This film is stunning. It is beautiful. It is what, like, you could take like a still from any scene and you can hang it up as like a poster in your room. That is how good the cinematography. It just looks beautiful. It looks very, very bright. But let's talk about Chihiro. Chihiro was, first of all, why her parents were just eating that food. Like, why were her parents just eating food like that? You go outside to a random place. First of all, you ain't even go to your house yet. Like, you're moving, you're going to your home. Why would you stop the car in the middle of nowhere and walk through a tunnel? Why would you do that? She had the right idea. She was like, why are we going here? And I was like, yes, girl, I agree. Why are you going here? Well, what is this? But they went, and her parents got turned into pigs, and they got turned into pigs. They shouldn't have been eating food. They shouldn't have been eating food that they had no idea where said food came from. That's just my humble and gracious opinion. And then she had to save her parents, and then they had to get out of there. But I loved Chihiro. I loved her character. The plot was a good plot. The movie was visually stunning. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about Spirited Away. Now, top 5. We're getting into the top 5 movies. My top 5 is very, very different from other people's top 5 because, as I said before, I like the things that I like. And my number 5 movie is When Marnie Was There. I have no notes. This was one of those movies again, like towards the end I was bawling like a baby, especially when we find out who Anna really is. When the movie started and Anna was like, she was like, I hate myself, I was like, okay, this is gonna be one of those films. This is gonna be one of those like heart-wrenching films. And I was glad because I was kind of wrong. It was more of like a coming of age film because towards the end, the person that Anna grows into, she grows into like a more confident version of herself, and I think she's happier towards the end. Like those are the kinds of stories that I very much so enjoy. And she's struggling with being adopted, and then I like stories about real people, about everyday situations, but and When Marnie Was There isn't necessarily like an everyday situation because like how often do you like ghosts? There's ghosts in this movie. How often does that happen? And I'm still not exactly sure if she was, I'm not too sure what was happening either, because was she seeing the ghost or was it a figment of her imagination? Because she would wake up washed up on the shore sometimes. So I'm just like, what's going on? Like, was she actually experiencing all of these things, or was it just in her imagination? Or maybe we do know and I just wasn't paying close enough attention. But I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It was really, really good. Next movie, number 4, Kiki's Delivery Service. This was I think this is the 3rd movie that I watched. The 3rd or 4th. It can't be higher than that. And ironic, it's number 4 on my list. This is to me, at least after watching all of these movies, this is quintessential Studio Ghibli. This is Studio Ghibli at its best, in my opinion. You have magic, you have Kiki, you have her trying to find her independence, you have all of this. So essentially Kiki's a witch, and when witches turn 13, they have to go out by themselves and figure out their specialty and all of that stuff. And Kiki can barely fly when she leaves home, and she has to like make a name for herself. This movie isn't about anything in particular. I'd say the climactic part only happens like 20 minutes, like the last 20 minutes. But there's something so endearing about Kiki as a character, and the whole story about her being a witch and her trying to find her independence and find what she's good at. As I said before, I love a good coming of age story. So there's that. I think this is like one of the best movies that I've watched, period. That is a lot to say, but this is a banger. Gigi, the black cat, the witch with the cat. It's such a classic. It's like little things like that. Gigi's so sassy. Number 3. We're top 3. Actually, I didn't say this before, but like my top 4, when I was doing this, it was like one of the only things that I was certain about. The top 4, I wrote my top 4 and then it didn't change because I was just like, this is it. Number 3, Howell's Moving Castle. Let me say it again in case you didn't hear me the first time. Howell's Moving Castle. Excellent. Very, very, very excellent. Let me tell you about Howell. Let me tell you about a man. Ooh.
When I tell you this man is so fine. When I tell you this man is scrumptious. He make me wanna, oh God.
Woo! I was in shambles. The English voice actor for Howell was acting. His voice was he was acting that day, okay? Because that man sounds fine as hell. That man is fine. Howell's character doesn't. Now, first of all, I'm kind of mad at Sophie because she took away the blonde and now he's blue black, but it's fine. It's fine. He's still a very good man. It's a very, very good man. But the blonde, I was going through it. I was experiencing something and I was very much so going through trials and tribulations. Now, that is not the only reason why I think this movie is fantastic. I like Sophie. Sophie's like independent, strong. I like Sophie as a character. I like the story. There's like this whole anti-war message, but then there's also magical and fantastical elements. I know I said that I didn't like that before. It was just very, 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 very good. I highly recommend. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Number 2. Now, here's the thing about my top 2 movies. If you're a Studio Ghibli fan and you've been like ticking my movies off of the list and you know and you see these 2 as the top 2, you're probably wondering why these would be my top 2, because I don't think, out of the things that I've seen, I don't think these 2 movies are in anybody's top 2. But like, if you've been watching this video, then you would know why, because it kind of like fits in with the things that I like. Number 2 is Ocean Waves. What a short film. This one was very short. I don't think this one was over an hour and a half. I think Ocean Waves was about probably an hour and 20 minutes, which was perfect length. If it had been any longer, it would have been too much, because this movie is about absolutely nothing. Well, it's not about nothing, but it's what it is a coming of age story. I can't give like a description, because if I give a description, I'm gonna give the entire plot away. But if you like coming of age stories, then I think you'll like this one. It, like, nothing happened. Like, you'll get this if you're a book person as well. Like, some of my favorite books are books where nothing really happens, and I'm not saying where nothing happens as in the characters aren't doing anything, but it's things that would happen in everyday life taken up to another notch. They're in Kochi, where this movie is set, and then they fly to Tokyo, and then he doesn't tell his parents that he's going to Tokyo until he gets to Tokyo. This is something that I would never do, but I can see somebody doing that in real life. That's what I mean by like things that are strange, but you can see them happening, and they're still in high school and they're about to graduate, which is like my kind of story. So I loved it. I really, really did. It was just a feel-good time. It was just, and there's this open-ended ending that's just so sweet and so beautiful, and then you can sit. It was just a really, really good time. Now, number 1. I want y'all to understand, like, when I watched this movie, I knew that it was going to be number 1. I just watched the rest to get my ranking, and don't get me wrong, I had a good time doing so. However, this movie, Whisper of the Heart, no. Everybody else needs to pack it up and go home. Now, you might call me crazy, because as I said before, this movie isn't about anything specific, but I see myself in Shizuku, and I don't know if that's like scary. Like, I don't know if that should scare me, but I see myself in her and Seiji. They're so cute together. It's just what I see this as. It's literally a simple story of following your passion and then knowing that not everybody's going to have the same path in life that you do, which is one of the things that I wholeheartedly believe in. When Shizuku was telling her parents, like, she was like, I don't think I want to go to high school, and they were like, okay. And I was watching, I was like, girl, if you think that's what, if you think that's like what you need to do, then like figure something out. And I know, like, not even necessarily high school, but was it college or something? Because they were like, don't you want to go to college? And she was like, no. But there's just something about it that I think everybody needs to watch, like, especially like if you're a writer, because she's an aspiring writer. That's where Baron from The Cat Returns comes from. This didn't necessarily make me feel the way that Ponyo did, because I felt unadulterated joy with Ponyo, but this one just like had me sit and contemplate and think about life in a good way. And it also showed like a really good relationship with her parents, because they let her figure things out on her own and they talked to her, and it was just good. It was a good time. All of these movies were a good time. I highly recommend anybody to just watch Whisper of the Heart. If you watch it and it's not your cup of tea, thanks. I mean, if you watch it and it's not your cup of tea, then that's okay. But I think you should see it at least once. I loved most of these movies. From like 16, I'll like leave like a thing with all of my rankings, but I think from 16 up, like, all of these were just, they were a joy to watch, I would say. And yeah, that is the end of my ranking. This video is gonna be probably on the longer side, more than an hour. But anyways, thank you for watching. What else? Oh, I'm watching Teen Wolf. And that show is excellent. So expect a video on that. I'm not gonna say soon, but that video is coming. I also have not forgotten that I owe a Death Note video, because I've been saying, if you watch the first video that I ever posted on this channel, you will see me saying that I'm making a video about Death Note, but we don't talk about her. She's gonna come at some point. Like, she will. She can't not come. Thank you so much for watching, for staying this long. Subscribe if you want to. Click around and you'll find other videos that you might want to watch. But yeah, I think that is it. Thank you. Have a great day and or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.